Hello, welcome to the channel. In this heart-wrenching video, I share the painful story of how a betrayal shattered my relationship. My fiancé, who was the absolute light of my life, and I had known each other since preschool, and our families were incredibly close. Everything was perfect until my older sister, Nikki, revealed her hidden agenda, turning our lives upside down. Join me as I recount the events that led to this devastating betrayal. At 21 years old, my fiancé proposed to me, and we were overjoyed. He became a daily presence in our family, and I couldn't have been happier. He always supported me through my struggles with anxiety and defended me against body-shaming comments. He made it clear that he loved me for who I was, not just my appearance. Everything seemed perfect until a cold and distant side of Nikki emerged. Nikki, my older sister, had always been closed off and distant, but she surprisingly asked me to spend a night out together to reconnect. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of a painful betrayal. We went out dancing, something completely out of my comfort zone. I indulged in a few drinks and let loose, but things took a turn when Nikki spotted a guy across the room. She claimed he wanted to talk to her, but he ended up showing interest in me instead. I rejected him, standing up for my sister, but her expression grew sour. Confused by her reaction, I confronted Nikki to salvage our night and protect our bond. However, she remained silent and simply said she needed to use the restroom. Waiting for her for what felt like hours, I started feeling increasingly dizzy and disoriented. I decided to leave, assuming Nikki had already gone home. At that moment, a friend of Nikki's approached, offering help with my car. I explained that I was feeling unwell and accepted his assistance. The next thing I remember is waking up on a hard couch with a pounding headache. I realized I was at Nikki's friend's house, and my phone was lying flat on the glass table in front of me. Confused and disoriented, he explained that I had fainted in the taxi, and since he didn't remember my parents' address, he brought me to his place and made sure I was safe. Desperate to get home, I called for a taxi and rushed back to my parents' house. To my surprise, when I arrived, my family, including my fiancé and his parents, were waiting in the living room. I thought they were concerned about my well-being, but before I could even explain, my fiancé accused me of betrayal. Confused and hurt, I tried to recount the events of the night, but I was repeatedly interrupted. Nikki joined in, labeling me a liar and accusing me of flirting with random guys all night. She even claimed that her friend and I had slept together multiple times. Devastated, I begged my fiancé to believe me, but he simply shook his head and walked away. As everyone left, my mother slapped me in the face and told me to leave. I had no choice but to seek refuge at a friend's house, where I stayed for a few nights, trying to piece together the fragments of my shattered relationship. During those nights, I found myself desperately calling my fiancé, pleading for him to believe me that nothing had happened. However, my pleas fell on deaf ears as he never returned any of my calls or messages. To make matters worse, my own mother sent me a message, kicking me out and accusing me of unimaginable things. My entire world crumbled in less than a day and a half. I was left homeless, rejected by my family, and single. I tried everything to win back my fiancé and family's support, but it seemed like they had reached their limits with me. Then, Christmas came around, and I decided to visit my mother's house in an attempt to reconcile. Sleeping from one couch to another, I arrived at my parents' house only to find no one answering the door. My friend called me and informed me that my family was celebrating Christmas in another state, posting photos online where everyone was joyfully present: my parents, sisters, grandparents, and even my fiancé and his family. The sight of their happiness crushed me, and I cried relentlessly for days. Eventually, I decided to block all of them from my life. I even returned my engagement ring. With the help of a friend, I found a job at a restaurant in a town a few hours away. I worked tirelessly to save money, eventually moving into a small apartment. Although it was difficult, I managed to accumulate enough savings to upgrade to a better condo. I continued working at the restaurant, and now, as an assistant manager, I have rebuilt my life. It has been 2 years since I left, and I have had no contact with any of my family members. I have no idea how they are doing until one day when my ex-fiancé showed up at my door, leaving me utterly shocked. He pleaded for a chance to explain, revealing that Nikki, the person who orchestrated the lies, had married someone else and confessed her malevolent deeds. Despite the flood of emotions, I held back from jumping into his arms, remembering the pain I endured. I tried to slam the door in his face, but he stopped me, insisting that my whole family had been trying to get in touch with me and wanted to see me. I told him I needed time to decide if I still wanted them in my life. I am torn and confused, not knowing what to do. Frankly, I don't think I can ever forgive Nikki for what she did, and I believe she deserves all the suffering in the world. However, it is difficult because my other family members and ex-fiancé were unaware of her lies and seemed to have abandoned me too hastily, without giving me the chance to explain my side. I don't know if I should forgive them. Ultimately, the decision is mine to make. Opinions from people are welcome, but at this moment, I am a mess and unsure of what to do. I guess unless Nikki sincerely apologizes, I have nothing to do with my monstrous family. The aftermath of my breakup with my ex took a surprising turn when my parents unexpectedly showed up at my doorstep. Overwhelmed by emotions, memories flooded my mind as my father tried to console me. Little did I know that their visit would uncover a web of deceit and a broken family. It turns out, my parents were going through a divorce, and my mother had refused to contact me, deeming my reaction immature. Feeling betrayed and abandoned, I couldn't help but question how long it took for them to realize I was gone. My father tearfully admitted his regret for the chaos that ensued, expressing his desire to make amends. He referenced how they had supported my troubled sister in her battle with substance abuse, taking family trips to help her through her struggles. Yet, when it came to me, they chose a different path. As the conversation unfolded, I discovered that my sister's reckless behavior had caused further devastation within our family. While my father distanced himself from her, my mother pleaded for forgiveness and advised me to sympathize with my sister's struggling state. It was a complex situation that left me torn, questioning their priorities and actions. In the midst of this turmoil, my ex-partner played an unexpected role. Despite our breakup, they gave my address to my father and agreed to meet up with him. Setting boundaries, I made it clear that my ex should never appear in my life without my consent. Feeling the weight of the situation, I poured out my pain, explaining just how deeply they had hurt me. Seeing them move on and be happy without me was incredibly difficult, but speaking my truth brought a sense of relief. During this emotional conversation, my father offered to help me find a better living situation and secure a better job. Although grateful for the support, I explained that leaving my current job was not an option. Instead, I expressed my desire for reconciliation, emphasizing that it would take time for me to rebuild trust, if I ever could. My father vowed to do whatever it took to make things right. Intriguingly, I reached out to Nikki's husband, a decision I now regret. Sweating nervously and feeling sick to my stomach, I shared the betrayal I had experienced. Surprisingly, he didn't lash out or defend Nikki. Instead, he expressed confusion and let out a heavy sigh. In retelling the situation, I also shared Nikki's struggles with substance abuse and her efforts to manipulate our breakup. It was a conversation that left me stunned, as her husband seemed entirely unaware of the extent of her actions. While I may never fully trust my father again, I am determined to mend broken ties and find closure. Turns out he had the feeling that she wasn't exactly innocent. I found out that she and her sister are having problems. And she's been spouting lies non-stop about her sister and caused a huge rift between them. Her sister doesn't even attend their wedding. I told him I was Sorry, but he should fix things with his sister because Nikki was the no problem. She talked a little more, and he hung up, not sure. What is he going to do with it? Information. I hope he cuts his losses and leaves her because he looked like a very nice person, and even he lost her own sister because of Nikki, so I decided to reconcile with my father. My mother always ran their show entire marriage, so the fact that he is putting your foot down and divorcing her and going to sea with Nikki shows that he is serious about wanting to make amends. I don't think I'll ever reconcile with my mom because she thinks Nikki is a victim too in all this, and in this point that I don't mind listening to her apologies if she reaches out and we talk. I will update the post again for my ex-me. I didn't have time to meet him and talk, even though my dad mentioned that I wanted to go with my father, but he told I would be very burdened if both were there, and seeing them apart will help you make clear decisions. He too mentioned that my ex was arrested for assaulting Nikki's friend who lied about the whole situation. He was being accused, but the charges were dropped a few days later. My opinion. Glad his dad got in touch with you, but take it easy, it was still a great betrayal. He might have tried to find you sooner, but better late than never. I hope you two develop your relationship. I honestly cut contact with the mother and sister, never let them back in your life. The fact that they abandoned you just enough if they chewed you up, but they really practically left you for dead. No support, no, nothing. Don't let them in your life. It was the worst thing they already did. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next video.